Looks like we're recording and we are ready to go when you are, Tom.
Okay. I want to welcome everybody here tonight. And I'll call our meeting to order. So this is the September 9th, 2021 regular meeting of the Webster Groves Board of Adjustment. We'll have a roll call. BJ Papello.
Here.
Randy Sprague.
Here.
John Bursey.
Present.
And Andrew Pottist.
Here.
And I'm Tom Waltz, and I'm here. Tonight, we will hear 3 cases. And docket item 2356, 2357, and 2358 in that order. We will first have the city present their testimony, and then the applicant will have the opportunity to come forward and present their testimony, and people who speak and want to speak in favor of the applicant will be allowed to do so. And then those that are opposed to the application, if there is anyone, will be allowed to do that. The board will then be closed into from the public session into the open board discussion. I might remind you when you come forward to give testimony to please speak clearly, and we are being recorded. We will vote on your application tonight, and it will require 4 yay or approval votes. So some of us, 2 of us are here and 3 of us are via Zoom. When you're giving testimony, please try not to be redundant or repetitive. That would be appreciated. So at this time, I'm going to have the vice chair read the powers relative to the requested variance.
Pursuant to section 53.307, the board shall have the following powers. Powers relative to variations when by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of specific piece of property as of September 20th, 1956, or by reason of exceptional topography conditions or extraordinary or exceptional situation or condition of a specific piece of property, which condition is not generally prevalent in the neighborhood, the strict application, the area regulations of this zoning code would result in particular and exceptional practical difficulties to or exceptional and undue hardship upon the owner of such property. The board is hereby empowered to authorize upon any appeal relating to such property a variation from such strict application of the code so as to relieve such difficulties or hardships.
Okay, now I would like to invite the vice chair to read the case for docket item 2356.
Docket item 2356 is a petition submitted by Ross Welsh on behalf of James and Jennifer McKenzie for an application for variance from sections 53.20A, 53.058N, and 53.058I, I believe. Is that a L? Of the minimum requirement, 40% of the existing single-family dwellings, which must already have a front entry garage on the subject property's block in order to construct a new front entry garage on Big Bend Boulevard, where 0% of the existing family dwellings have a front entry garage. The applicant is requesting a second variance of 4.92 feet from the minimum required 10-foot north side yard setback in order to construct a front entry garage located 5.08 8 feet from the north side property line. The applicant is requesting a third variance of 191 square feet in excess of the maximum 360 square foot gross floor of the area allowed in a second accessory structure on the residential lot in order to construct a second accessory structure with a gross floor area of 551 square feet. The property is located at 9435 Big Bend Boulevard within the A2 15,000 square foot residence district.
Okay, I'd now like to invite our city attorney to present testimony pertaining to docket item 2356.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In furtherance of the city's position, we would first of all ask the introduction to evidence was been previously marked as exhibits 1 through 6, together with a map or a drawing that is in your packet that has been provided to all of the commissioners here this evening. We'd ask that that all be introduced into evidence. And further, the city would present the testimony of a live witness, being Danny Genduza. Would you please raise your right hand to be sworn? Mr. Chairman, you want to swear in the witness?
Yes, I will. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
Danny Gendusa.
And you were employed by the city of Webster Groves, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
In what capacity?
As planner
And what are your duties in that position?
to administer and execute zoning regulations.
Through your work with the city, are you familiar with the property at 9435 Big Bend Boulevard that's identified as docket 2356 here this evening?
Yes, I am.
Is that within the city limits of Webster Groves?
Yes, it is.
In what zoning district within the city is this property located?
It's in the A2 15,000 square foot residence district.
And what is the applicant's request?
The applicant is requesting 3 variances. One, simply to allow a front entry garage where there is not currently any front entry garages on that on the applicant's block. The city code requires minimum 40% of the homes on a block to already have a front entry garage in order to allow a new one. The second variance is related to the side yard setback. If a garage is located within 10 feet of an existing house, it's required to meet the side yard setback. In this case, is 10 feet from the side property line. They'd like to locate the new garage 5.10 feet from the side property line. The third variance is in order to build a larger secondary accessory structure. Third variance of 191 square feet in excess of the maximum allowed 360 square feet.
And would you state for the record, Mr. Genduza, the applicable municipal code sections that apply to these 3 requests?
Sure. So for the first variance request, it is section 53.203A, which states that front entry garages are permitted to 40% or more of the single family dwellings on both sides of the street on the same block already have front entry garages. In the past, continually, the city staff has interpreted this as applying to detached garages, which are less than 10 feet from the main house. So anytime someone's wanting to build a new detached garage within 10 feet of the main house, they're also required to meet this minimum threshold. The second variance is related to section 53.058, subsection N, which states that accessory buildings may be built in a rear yard, but such accessory building shall not occupy more than 30% of the rear yard and shall not be more than 5 feet to any side or rear lot line. Except it includes a provision that says that except when a garage is located closer than 10 feet to the main building, the side and rear yards for the main building shall be observed. And in this case, that is a 10-foot setback, side yard setback. And then the third variance is directly related to section 53.058 in the development standards for accessory structures. Subsection L states that lots exceeding an average width of 100 feet may be granted an additional 25% increase to what is otherwise allowed. And so since this lot does meet that threshold of being 100 feet wide, it is required to meet, it is able to have a 25% increase to the otherwise limitation of 288 square feet on their second accessory structure. That 25% increase allows a maximum of 360 square feet on a second accessory structure.
And Mr. Genduzo, I direct your attention to the city's exhibits. Can you, when was this property built? What was it?
So
According to county records.
according to the county records, the existing house was built in 1920. Shown above is a copy of the applicant's boundary and improvement survey. The existing detached garage on the property was built in 1960. The applicant is seeking to demo the existing detached garage and construct a new detached garage and accessory facilities. Here on the slide, showing the existing conditions, the existing structure, the existing detached garage and main structure on the property. In July of this year, the city, working with the Metropolitan Sewer District, established a sewer easement running through the rear yard of this property and many of the other properties on this block that sort of subdivide or divides the rear of the property from the main house and limits what can be built on the property. Here's photos of the existing culvert from this past winter. And that area has been updated, I believe, with work with MSD this summer. The applicant submitted a preliminary site plan and some architectural renderings. I'll kind of go through the applicant's proposal and site plan kind of step by step, since there's a few different requests and pieces involved. Shown above again is a zoomed in image of the applicant's site plan. You can see the new MSD sewer easement that was established this summer running through the rear yard of the property. The applicant is proposing to demo the former detached garage on the property and build a new detached garage located less than 10 feet from the house. And that would be on the, I believe that's the east side of the easement. And then on the opposite side of the easement running through the yard, they were wanting to build a secondary accessory building for workshop and hobby purposes. So looking at the first variance related to the 40% front entry garage limitation. So the proposed garage, due to the limited width of the lot and the house position on the lot, would be located about 9.5 feet from the house. Again, staff has interpreted that any new detached garage that would be located less than 10 feet from a house qualifies as a front entry garage and must meet, is only allowed if 40% of the houses on the block already have a front entry garage. There are no qualifying front entry garages on this block of Big Bend Boulevard. None of the homes on this particular block already have front entry garages. So the first variance request is simply to allow a new front entry garage on this block, which the garage would be located less than 10 feet from the house. Looking at the second variance request, the code also says that because this garage would be located less than 10 feet from the house, it's required to meet the zoning setbacks that apply to the main house. So in this case, this property is located in the A2 zoning district. So any additions to the main house would be required to meet a 10-foot setback from the side property line. The applicant is seeking to build the new garage 5 foot 1 inch from the side property line rather than meeting the minimum required 10 in order to fit a garage on the property on the south side of the easement. Then the third variance request is related to their secondary accessory structure which they're wanting to build on the opposite side of the easement. The proposed secondary accessory structure would have a gross floor area of 551 square feet. And this would exceed the maximum allowable 360 square feet that is allowed on any, for a second accessory structure on a residential property in Webster Groves. Are there any questions from the board that I can address before speaking with the applicant?
Any questions?
I have one question, excuse me. In terms of the accessory building and the setback from the side yard, is that also a 10-foot setback supposedly? Is that what it's supposed to be?
Do you mean the second accessory structure?
Yeah,
workshop?
not the garage, but the accessory structure.
The-
It also appears to be the same setback from the side yard as the garage, which we're asking for an exception for. Is the accessory building also closer to the side yard than would be allowed by
The
Webster?
The workshop structure is meeting the necessary setback. It only has to meet a 5-foot setback. from
Okay,
Side and rear. because
that was confusing to me. So it's a little bit different. I understand now. Thank you.
So are they not symmetrical? I'm not following.
They are in line with each other. It's just that they're not attached. So the only reason that the garage structure has to meet a larger setback is because it's less than 10 feet from the house, but the separate workshop structure is further than 10 feet from the house. So it only has to meet the standard accessory structure setbacks, which is 5 feet. So since they're separate structures, they have different setback requirements.
I see.
Thank you. That clarifies my question.
Sure.
So does the work by the Metropolitan Sewer impact this at all?
They've designed it to locate the structures outside of the easement area. There has been, there is a temporary construction easement in place also on the property. But once that has expired and the MSD construction is done, the new structures would not interfere with the MSD easement. They've designed it to build them outside of the easement areas.
Any other questions by board members to Mr. Gendusa?
None for me.
Okay, hearing none.
Nothing
Uh,
further on behalf of the city, Mr. Chairman.
What?
Nothing further. on
Okay,
behalf of the
thank you,
city.
sir. Okay, then we'll move forward. Who here wishes to speak in favor of docket item 2356? If you come forward, sir, and state your name.
Hi, my name is James McKenzie. I'm the homeowner. Me and my wife own the home.
Okay, and I need to swear you in. So you'd raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you may proceed.
Yes, I'm the homeowner. We've lived in this home since 2014. Pretty much since we moved in, we've been interested in improving it when we can. So we built a deck and have done some pretty serious renovations inside, including moving stairways and finishing a second floor. So we're kind of establishing that this is going to be the home that we're going to live in for the rest of our lives. As such, we're really interested in making it usable and functional for us. So at this point, our existing garage is not large enough to park either one of our cars in, let alone both of them. And furthermore, as an avid woodworker and hobbyist tinkerer, I guess, I have interest in having a sizable workshop. At current, I'm pulling sheets of plywood down our stairs into the basement and larger pieces of material for furniture building and our other home improvement projects. And it's kind of problematic. And as I see myself getting older and getting more into that hobby, that'll be increasingly problematic. managing to put a 4x8 sheet of plywood down those stairs in my 60s or 70s is not a pretty picture to me. So to that end, as I wanted to build this garage, I wanted to have a sizable workshop for my hobbies. And we've gone back and forth with some design iterations to try to check the boxes and make it fit where we can, but also check my functional boxes of being usable as a workshop and as a garage. That's kind of my gist. I'm going to let my architect speak to the more technical sides and all the planning and all the back and forth with Danny, but yeah.
Okay, let me ask if any of the board members has a question.
So what undue hardship is really placed upon you that we should authorize this?
Basically, the undue hardship is working around that sewer easement. As we started this project, we'd intended to build a single building that was going to encompass both the garage and the workshop. And because of the constraints of our position of the house and the property line, we couldn't really squeeze it in where it would make sense. It would either be sitting over top of that easement or wedged way back in the corner where it's inconvenient to, have your car's garage and stuff like that. So this was kind of our compromise design where we could have a full-size 2-car garage and a full-size workshop and still kind of split along that easement and make that work for the city. And yeah, so you can see it's those 6 inches or whatever from setback from the house that we couldn't quite wrangle it in to make it nice and neat, just based on the other setbacks and constraints.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. McKenzie? It is, right? Yeah.
I would only have one question. Why do you need the accessory building? Why does it need to exceed what the city would allow? Why does it need to be 551 square feet? Is there a reason that number is important?
Sure. When I laid that building out, it had certain specifications in terms of, again, going back to working with a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet of plywood and goods of that size. Being able to actually work and move around a table saw in a shop requires a decent amount of square footage. And in my current basement situation, I can't really do what I need to do. So I'm doing all sorts of temporary things to kind of make that work, but it's quite inconvenient. So the square footage is really about just having a properly laid out workshop for the kind of work that I want to do.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. McKenzie? Okay, hearing none, you can have a seat and thank you very much. Anyone else here? Come forward, please. Please state your name.
Good evening, Ross Welch.
Okay, Mark Welch, the masks. Ross. I'm
yes.
sorry. Okay. Could you please raise your right hand? Let me swear you in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and share with us what is important to this docket item.
Sure. I think Mr. Gendusa and Mr. Kennedy have really covered points very well. Appreciate the explanation. I think to address.
Can we have the microphone adjusted a bit? We're having a hard time hearing the
Can't hear
person
you.
that's
Sorry.
up there.
You can take your mask down.
Yeah,
if you need
if
to,
you-
like, speaking.
So clearly the largest hardship presented is the MSD easement. I would also add that you can see in some of the photographs that the farther the structures would push towards the rear of the lot, grade rises towards the rear of the lot several feet. So it would start to create some topographic challenges to constructing a larger building there. If it's allowable, I can show an earlier site plan that was not moved past the preliminary site plan review that shows what the intent to do with a single building would be. And correct me on my numbers with this, but a single garage could be constructed on a lot this size up to, I believe, with the 25% exception, up to 1,200 square feet. So setbacks aside, the lot would allow for a single structure that is larger than the size of these two structures combined. I think that goes to that does go to the last variance, where when the structures are separated and we exceed 360 square feet, that is a result of separating the structures to accommodate the sewer easement. The front entry garage is also, if I understand the code correctly, is intended to allow garages as close as 6 feet in front of the house. So I think that's important context for talking about what a front entry garage would look like. I would say that with the siting of the garage pushed as far back as possible to that easement, the owner would not seek to construct a front entry garage. They're trying to get it as far to the backyard as possible. And this is the footprint that's limited by the easement, the existing house, and the side property. So the setbacks of 10 feet from the house and 10 feet from the side yard are a result of an ordinance that they would not wish to follow, in the first place by constructing that front entry garage. And I think we've already covered in other folks' testimony the issue of the 10-foot setback for the other building, so I won't reiterate anything more on that. And with that, I would invite questions.
Does the board have any questions? I'm not hearing
Well,
any.
the only question I had, is there any input from any of the neighbors? You guys have any feedback, or anybody here to talk that's a neighbor?
Did you catch that question?
I think he was asked, are you trying to ask if there are any neighbors here to testify for or against the proposal?
Yeah.
Well, for your side, anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
There are none here now. You do have in your packets 2 letters of support from the immediate adjacent neighbors.
So one of the things I hear you saying is that on front-facing garages, this house already has a front-facing garage. And that's going to be torn down, new one is built, it's behind the house. And you feel that makes a difference, or is a extra circumstance here for the board to focus on as we make a decision?
Yeah, I think I would ask you to consider that the new garage will be placed deeper into the lot than the current garage.
Okay,
And that the design submitted only violates the rear yard accommodations by 5 square feet is what falls within the offset from the house. So it's those 5 square feet that render this a front facing garage. And really that is the location as far from the street, and attempting to balance the setbacks from the house and the side yard as best as possible.
okay. Any other questions by the board? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
have a seat. Is there anyone here who is in opposition to docket item 2356? Seeing and hearing nobody, I will close the public hearing and
Should
open.
we double check if any of
What's that?
should we double check if anyone on Zoom
Oh,
has to raise their hand?
is there anybody on Zoom opposing this docket item?
I don't see
Danny,
it.
I don't see any. You're the expert on that. Okay, so we have nobody opposing, so we'll close the public hearing and open the discussion to the board. at this time. So ask the board to invite you to make any comments that you want on this item.
And Mr. Chairman, just for clarity's sake, each of these three variances will need to be addressed by the
But
board.
that's what I figured, yeah. So let's talk about, if anybody has any comments on the front-facing garage, that variance.
So I have a question actually
Okay.
for the city. There are what appears to be front-facing garages in the neighboring lots. Is that those are not considered front-facing because of the setback from the structure? Is that, do I understand that correctly?
Yes, that is correct.
I don't know if it, I guess all these houses are sort of on a angle along Big Bend. So if you're approaching from maybe the west, you don't even see a garage. If you come from the other way, I think you would. I don't know if the way the lots are plotted out makes a difference or not. I'm just trying to think myself through this. So here's bringing the point out that this proposed garage would be behind the house. And any other comments?
John?
Mr. Chairman, I would just comment, it would seem to me that the ditch is an exceptional topographical condition that really sets up all three of these requests for variances as a kind of, chain reaction to it. And, the easement that is intended to solve the ditch, I would suggest that the applicant and their architect have come up with a concept plan here that, acknowledges that easement, allows that project to proceed, and would be worthy of our consideration for variance.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Actually, I think John makes absolutely the correct point. I think the easement's the key to this whole thing. Could they would move the garage back further and it would be a non-issue, but they can't. And I understand that. And I think that is a significant hardship. I agree.
Yeah, I concur with the easement being a hardship on what they're trying to do. Myself. Any other comments on really on any of these variances? I'll just open it to any of the board members on the side yard setback and the size of the workshop, square footage. Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the first variance? We'll vote on these individually as our city attorney has suggested. And so we're voting on the front-facing garage variance.
I would move approval of the
Okay,
front-facing garage.
you're making a
variance.
motion. Okay, you're making a
I am.
motion.
I'm making
Do I have
a motion to
second for the
approve.
motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, we have one opposed. Roll call vote. Andrew Pottis,
Yay.
Andrew, John Bursey.
It's Burst, Mr. Chairman, but yeah,
Bursmeyer?
yeah.
Okay,
I'm-
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm new at the job.
That's fine.
Okay, you're voting in favor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, doke. Randy Sprague,
Yes.
BJ Papillo,
Nay.
Tom Walsh, yay. So that's the first variance is passed. Move to the second variance of side yard setback on the north side of 4.92 feet. Do I hear a motion to approve this variance?
I
Make a
motion that,
motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion is made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Roll call vote is Andrew Pottist,
Aye.
John Versman,
Aye.
Randy Sprague,
Aye.
BJ Papello,
Nay.
Tom Walsh, aye. So the second variance has passed. The third variance is the square footage pertaining to the second structure. Do I have a motion in favor of that? We need a motion to vote.
I motion approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Roll call vote. Andrew Pottist,
Aye.
John Versman,
John Burst votes aye.
Randy Sprague,
Aye.
BJ Papello,
Nay.
Tom Walsh, aye. Okay, all three variances have passed. So you need to, you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. Need to get in touch with Danny Gendusa here and proceed with your project. So we will move on to docket item 2357. If the vice chairman could read the information pertaining to that docket item 2357. Bear with you, I am, bear with me.
All right. Docket 2357 is a petition submitted by Brian and Monica O'Connor for an application for variance from section 53.073F of the zoning code of Webster Groves. The applicant is requesting a variance of 7 feet from the minimum required 25 feet putback rear yard south setback in order to construct an additional located 18 feet from the rear south property line. The property is located at 674 Amelia Avenue, located within the A4 7,500 square foot residence district.
Okay, would the city like to present?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd ask the court to, or not the court, but this panel to please accept into evidence what's been previously marked as exhibits 1 through 7 plus a site plan. It's contained in your packet, and those are the city exhibits that will be referred to in this hearing. In addition, we would present live testimony of the city planner, and since Mr. Genduza has already been sworn, I would ask him to state his name.
My name is Danny Gendusa.
And you're employed by the city of Webster Groves, is that correct?
Yes, I am,
And your capacity as in the city of Webster Groves.
as planner
What are your duties in that position, please?
to administer and execute zoning regulations.
Through your work with the city, are you familiar with the property located at 674 Amelia Avenue?
Yes, I am.
Is that within the city limits?
Yes, it is.
In what zoning district is this property located?
It's in the A4 7,500 square foot residence district.
And would you describe the applicant's request?
Yes, the applicant is requesting a variance of 7 feet from the minimum required 25-foot rear yard south setback in order to construct an addition that would be located 18 feet from the rear south property line.
What municipal codes apply to this request, sir?
It is section 53.073 for the rear yard setback, which states except as hereinafter provided in section 53.170, there shall be a rear yard having a depth of not less than 20% of the depth of the lot, provided such rear yard need not exceed 35 feet, but shall not be less than 25 feet. And in this case, the 25-foot setback applies to this property.
And you have examined the St. Louis County records regarding this property, have you not?
Yes, according to St. Louis County, the existing house was built in 1906 and a non-conforming garage addition was built in 2003. Here we have a image of the applicant's boundary and improvement survey of existing conditions on the lot. The existing non-conforming garage addition is highlighted in yellow at the rear of the house. The existing garage was built into the required 25-foot rear yard setback, identified as a parallel line to the rear property line in green on the slide. The garage is located approximately 18 feet from that rear property line. Here we have photos of the existing home and garage. In 2018, the Board of Adjustment previously approved a variance for a 16-foot rear yard setback for the applicant to construct a 1.5-story addition atop the existing non-conforming garage. They are returning to the Board of Adjustment in order to construct what would be considered a 2-story addition on top of a 2-story addition at the rear of the house. When the variance previously came through in 2018, with the limited information we had available to us, staff had identified that only a 1.5-story addition could go on top of that garage because the city code has a limitation that you can only have a 2.5-story home. However, with additional information provided by the applicant, staff examined further square footage of the full upper floor area of their home and determined that the existing house could be considered would not be exceeding a 3-story, 2.5-story limit, and could allow for a taller addition on the back of the home. But because the language had been specifically written to limit it to a 1.5-story addition in 2018, with the additional information provided by the applicant, staff felt it was appropriate to ask them to come back if they wanted to build something exceeding a 1.5-story addition. So here they've presented a preliminary site plan presenting that they would like to, install or construct an addition on the rear of the property in the place of the existing garage. The standard city code regulations again would require a 25-foot rear yard setback. They have been approved for a 16-foot rear yard setback for a 1.5-story addition. They'd like to go larger than 1.5 stories as they would be allowed in the code. And they're requesting to build the new addition approximately 18 feet from the rear south property line. So they would be actually decreasing the encroachment that was previously allowed for the new addition. Previously, they were allowed to have a 16-foot rear setback with the additional information provided. They will only be asking for an 18-foot setback from the property line. Here we have images of the applicant's preliminary architectural rendering showing the addition at the rear of the property above the attached garage, tuck under garage. And that's all that I have. Is there any questions from the board that I can address?
None for me.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Danny? Okay, it looks like you're off the hook for the moment.
Okay.
Is there anybody here in favor of speaking for docket item 2357?
Yes, the homeowner has raised their hand, so I will bring them over as a panelist to speak. May take a second. Okay, Brian, can you hear us?
Brian?
Yeah, I think so. Am I coming in?
Okay, Brian, welcome to the meeting. we need to swear you in, so raise your right hand. Give me your word, you're raising your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to, you may present what you have for us. Any comments you'd like to make about your docket item?
Yeah, I probably won't go over some of the technical details. I think Danny did a really good job of explaining that. I think we're back here today for the same reasons essentially that we were in 2018, which is, we moved into this home with the intent to, build with it and to grow with it. We brought our first son home here. We brought our daughter home here. And when we had bought the home, we were told, well, actually it was sold to us that, the garage had been built specifically so that you could add on. So it was a really great site for us. And we were really looking forward to kind of setting some roots and growing our family here. The garage turned out to be problematic, I think, for a couple of reasons. So we're here because we feel like we're kind of in a rock and a hard spot. It was initially built non-conforming. So we're trying to work with what we have, and simply repairing the garage here. We've talked to several people is not really going to be an option. It was never really built to have the deck that's currently up on there right now. It was always built to really have an addition on top. So if we were to just repair the deck, we'd still be running into the same sort of water damage issues and other structural issues that we were complaining about a few years ago. So we'd really like to build an addition on here, and an addition that works for the needs of our family as we've grown. That's why we're here. I think we would have initially applied for the 2-story addition had we better understood what the code had said and better understood the basis for the city's initial determination that we could only apply for a 1.5 stories. But now with better information, I think we're back again and maybe trying to correct that initial application here.
Okay, are there any questions or comments by the board members to Mr. O'Connor?
None.
I guess I would just make the comment that if your lot was square or rectangular, you would not need a variance. Am I correct?
Yeah, I not as I understand it. Yeah, if we had a square lot.
It's just for part. It's just for a part of the structure.
It's a weird rear setback. Yeah, it's sort of drawn diagonally. We don't really understand why it was, but I think had it been drawn square, you're absolutely right. My understanding is we wouldn't be needing to apply for a variance.
Yeah, if the lot wasn't diagonally back there, and you're on a corner.
Yep.
And but it's that diagonal line of one of your backyards.
Yeah, that's right.
Any other comments by board members? Okay, hearing none, I thank you for your testimony. And we'll see if there's anybody here tonight to speak in opposition to docket item 2357. Nobody here in the room. Anybody waiting in the waiting room?
Well, I do see that the applicant's architect, I believe, is on the line, as well as Monica O'Connor. I don't know if either of them have.
Okay, so let's back up. So they are going, do either of you want to speak in favor?
Okay.
Okay, so I don't hear that they do. There's nobody here in opposition. So we'll close the public hearing to docket item 2357, open the discussion to the board. So anyone here have any comments?
I'd say I think there's a hardship. I think that this makes perfect sense and it is well warranted.
And I might add, we voted in favor of it in 2018, not 2-story, but 1-story. And this is a little bit slightly less of a variance. It's that diagonal property line. that is causing the problem and the need for variance. So
It's also interesting to me that the setback they're requesting is smaller than the one that was approved before.
yeah, it's what I meant, yeah. Smaller than the one we approved before. So any other comments from any of our board members?
I make a motion to approve.
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve and a second. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, variance is passed. So we can, oh, I'm sorry, we need a roll call. Andrew Pottist,
Aye.
John Versman,
Aye.
Randy Sprague,
Aye.
BJ Papello,
Aye.
and Tom Walsh, I vote aye. So docket item 2357 is passed, and you folks may proceed to to see Danny Gendusa and go forward with the project. We'll move to the last docket item tonight, which is docket item 2357.
58.
58, sorry, 58. So does our attorney wish to?
I need to read it.
Oh, you need to read it first. Yeah, we do. I'm sorry. We need to read our vice chair needs to read.
Docket item 2358 is a petition submitted by Marin Mellon and Ryan Martin for an application for a variance from section 53.203A of the zoning code of Webster Groves. The applicant is requesting a variance of 18% from the minimum required setback, or minimum required 40% of the existing single-family dwellings, which must already have a front entry attached garage on the subject property line or property block in order to allow for entry, to allow front entry for the attached garage on South Maple Avenue, where 22% of the existing family dwellings have a front attached garage. The project is located at 320 South Maple Avenue within the A3 10,000 square foot residence district.
Okay, Mr. Attorney.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We would first of all ask the court to admit as evidence those documents have been previously filed with the Board of Adjustment and have been marked appropriately in your packet, and to accept them as evidence. Further, the city would propose to present the testimony of City Planner Danny Gendusa. He's been duly sworn, and we would ask him to state his name for the record, please.
My name is Danny Gendusa.
And you're employed by the City of Webster Groves, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And you're a planner, is that correct?
Correct.
What are your duties in that position?
To administer and execute zoning regulations.
So you work with the city. Are you familiar with the property at 320 South Maple Avenue?
Yes, I am.
And that's within the city limits of Webster Groves, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
What is the zoning district that property is located in?
It is in the A3 10,000 square foot residence district.
And what is the applicant's request?
The applicant is requesting a variance of 18% from the minimum required 40% of existing single-family dwellings, which must already have a front entry attached garage on the subject property's block, in order to allow a front entry attached garage on South Maple Avenue, where 22% of the existing single-family dwellings have a front entry attached garage.
And you're quoting from section 53.203A of the code, Webster Groves Code, is that correct?
That is correct.
And that is applicable to this request, is that correct?
It is.
Could you describe for the commission the existing conditions on this property?
So according to St. Louis County, the house was built in 1908. There was a garage built around 2009 and 2010. The existing garage is highlighted in yellow on the subject property's survey. Shown above are photos of the existing home and attached garage on the subject property. In 2008, the Board of Adjustment approved a variance to allow a a reduced side yard setback for a detached garage on this property that was to be separated 10 feet from the house. Somewhere along the line, the applicant, not this applicant, an owner prior to this applicant actually built the garage closer to the house than the Board of Adjustment had approved. And at some time between 2009 and 2014, a covered walkway was built attaching that garage to the house. And you can kind of see it. It's just a small covered walkway of a few feet in width connecting the what was a detached garage, connecting it as an attached garage to the house. The applicant and that connection, small covered walkway is circled in red on the slide. The applicant is simply seeking to allow a variance to keep the existing garage in place as an attached garage, to establish what is now considered a non-conforming garage as a what would be a conforming garage with the approved variance. They're not seeking to modify the garage or expand the garage at this point in time. I believe I'll let the applicant speak to their sort of longer term plans, but I believe the garage's existing status as a non-conforming structure is inhibiting other things they would like to do with their property. And once this could be addressed, they would be able to move forward with additional plans and meet the code requirements. The variance is necessary because only 2 of the 9 homes on this block of South Maple Avenue have a qualifying front entry garage. And that only meets the 22%, does not meet the 40% threshold. So the variance is simply to allow the existing front entry garage to remain in place and to be deemed a conforming structure and out of its existing non-conforming status. Are there any questions?
Yes, I am very confused.
Sort of pull your microphone down. I don't know if they can hear you.
Sure, I'm very confused as to bringing a property from non-conforming to conforming. Why exactly does it need the variance?
I'll let them explain what their long-term plans are, but I believe,
Well, it doesn't matter what the long-term plans are. It's just what we're talking about
well,
here and now. If they're taking from non-conforming, why would it even need a variance?
I'll let them explain why, but it needs a variance because it's currently considered a non-conforming accessory structure. I believe they have plans to construct other accessory structures on their property, which this status of the garage that they did not build prevents any future plans from meeting the code requirements.
So the variance will allow them to meet the code?
Yes.
Okay.
They've done, this is what they inherited. They haven't done anything to the garage, correct?
Correct. It's a
So,
very strange sequence of events. We tried tracing back the history, but looking back at what was submitted to the Board of Adjustment in 2008 as the plan that was approved is not the garage that was built. And that prior owner at some point also attached that garage to the house, not in accordance with the zoning.
that was
regulations.
done before the current owner.
Correct.
So they inherited
This.
a non-conforming
Correct.
structure. And they've done nothing to it. It is what it is, as it was on the day they moved into the house.
Yes.
So this is sort of a technicality in a way. And it's really not our job to worry about what they're going to do, because that's up to them. And we're not here to
That's not
rule
up
on
to us.
anything that
Right.
might happen.
Correct.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess further explain the implications. The variance is to simply allow a front entry garage on this property. So, just speculating, perhaps, 50 years into the future, a future homeowner could use this variance to also construct a new front entry attached garage on the property if this were to be approved. That is completely speculative. It's just kind of
Yeah.
explaining the full
Right.
implications of what the variance would mean.
I mean, it really doesn't mean anything to the board at this point. You're taking a non-conforming, I mean, it's just what the facts are.
Yeah. What? Does anybody else have any comment that's out there on Zoom?
I just have one question, and maybe this is a little bit in the weeds. But should this get a variance, does this change then the number of there only being 22% conforming garages on the block? Does it raise that number?
It
I'm just curious.
technically doesn't. We are, when it was calculated, so this house and only one other have a front entry garage at this point. So this would not increase that to 3.
Okay. Just curious.
It's a good question.
It wouldn't make it other homes on the block automatically eligible for front entry garages.
That's another good point.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none. Who's here tonight to speak in favor of docket item 2358?
Hi, I am. I'm Maureen Mellon.
Yeah, your name is Mary, and would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead and proceed with what you wish to tell us.
Well, as has been discussed, this is just an existing non-conforming property that we are hoping to be able to touch at some point in the future. We inherited this, well, we bought this property. It was non-conforming at the time. We didn't realize it. And this house, I mean, there are lots of complicating factors on this property, but we sort of need one domino to fall to be able to basically do any work, basic improvements on our home. And because of the, distance between the home and the garage, we've had, companies say they don't even want to try to get professional equipment into our backyard because if they touch the non-conforming garage accidentally, then they cause problems. And so really just sort of grandfather this in is what we're asking for, the existing structure.
Any questions for Ms. Mellon? Anybody on Zoom out there? Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else here this evening or in the waiting room speak in favor of docket item 2358?
I see none who have raised their hands. If anyone online wants to make a comment, please raise your hand. I see none.
Okay, we see none. So is there anybody here tonight speaking in opposition to docket item 2358? Or anybody online?
Nope.
None. Okay, so we'll close the public hearing and open meeting for comments from the board.
So I would say that taking a non-conforming structure to a conforming structure is absolutely in the best interest of the city as well as the homeowner. Non-conforming structure would obviously cause them problems if they want to do anything in the future. Having seen that, I think there's an undue hardship and they're trying to rectify it, and I think it's absolutely warranted.
And I agree with the stated hardship there.
I would agree.
Nothing's been done to this building. It is as it was when they bought the house. So the applicant's not trying to enlarge. Just want to bring the garage into city code. Any comments out there on Zoom, folks? Do I have hearing none? Do I have a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to approve docket number 2358.
Do I hear a second?
I will second that.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor,
Aye.
say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote. It passed but we'll have a roll call vote. Andrew Pottist,
Aye.
John Busman. John Busman, did you say aye? Okay. Randy Sprague,
John Burst says aye. I was on mute,
Okay.
my bad. I've now committed that Zoom sin in this.
I'm
forum.
sorry about your name. I tell you, it's hard to hear in here. So part of that's my problem, part of it is I'm playing on Zoom. At any rate, I apologize. BJ Papello
Aye.
and Tom Walls, aye. So docket item 2358 has passed and proceed to the city with any business that you need to take.
Our only other business is a reminder, if you haven't gotten the chance to respond to the email from Mara, to schedule a training session with just over board procedures and that type of thing, please do so.
I don't know that I got that.
I responded to her, so I know it went at least to me.
Okay.
I received
Just
it as
ask
well.
When was it?
this last week.
Yeah, we'll resend out a reminder via email.
She just asked to give, if you could do a training and maybe tell her when you couldn't do the
Are we
training.
gonna do it all together or they just?
Yes, I think we'll try to do it. I mean, I think if it's a combination of Zoom and in person, I think that's okay. But yeah, I think she was just looking for general preferences of time windows. I don't think she was sent out specific dates yet.
Yeah.
We could just let her know. She'll work with the team to set up a training schedule.
How about not on opening day of football?
Okay, is there any other business? Motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
job.
Good night.
Good
Hey,
night.
good
all.
night.